Hi, Michelle Sparks with you, and I don't think you can be alive and connected by internet and social media and news coverage without being pretty aware of a lot going on the world stage at the moment. I've just been reading a really interesting article by a professor of journalism, Brian McNair, Queensland University of Technology, and it was reported in The Conversation, which is an online news edition. And, he was just talking, he opens up by saying the scent of chaos hangs heavy in the air. Donald Trump evokes it in Cleveland. Islamic State sows it in Nice, Brussels, Paris, Orlando. Britain is immersed in it after Brexit, while the EU struggles to prevent its onset amid mounting crises of migration and political legitimacy. Ukraine and Syria have been torn apart by it, and Turkey looks fragile after a failed coup. So, he's talking about stuff on the world stage, and, we all know that there is a lot going on. But further than that, he also talks about the fact, and I've been aware of this for a long time, and I'm sure you are as well, but he says it very articulately, as a journalist is prone to do, that, just the internet, which, of course, can be a great source of connection for good, but how in some ways, because we have this, let me just see if I can find it. Notwithstanding the huge benefits brought to people and societies all over the world by the internet, then it also presents challenges to the capacity for good governance and rational decision making, on which our collective well-being depends. In a world where information of all kinds, nasty as well as nice, false as easily as true, travels faster, further, and with fewer possibilities for censorship than ever before in human history, authority and the exercise of power are uniquely precarious. So look, he's talking about, the interplay of social media and how imagery can be used, in this media environment. Isolated events which once upon a time would have been mainly of local importance are now become global in their impact through the immediacy and visceral nature of their media coverage. Now, this has some advantages, but it's also an efficient way to disseminate anxiety, panic, and fear. That's my point. That's where I want to get to right now. Look, I suppose what I want to say at this point of time is I was reading another article by the National Eating Disorder Collaboration, and it was an interview with Professor Susan Paxton, a wonderful lady who's working in the area. And I'm just going to grab it. So I'm going to pause this for one moment. Okay, back again. Please excuse, there's a bit of construction noise next door, so sorry about that. But Susan Paxton, a professor in School of Psychological Science at La Trobe University in Melbourne, was just asked by the National Eating Disorder Collaboration about eating disorders becoming increasingly prevalent, which is absolutely the case. What do you think may be contributing to this rise? And she wisely said that there's no single cause, and genetic, temperament and socio-cultural environmental factors are likely to be involved. It's possible that changes in socio-environmental factors, perhaps in interaction with genetic factors, may contribute to an increased prevalence of eating disorders. In relation to these environmental factors, appearance pressures on both males and females remains very strong. Appearance-based social media may create an increased pressure to conform to appearance ideals in young women. And it goes on, and she makes some fantastic points, but I suppose what I want to just bring to your attention in this short video podcast is, my belief is that we are seeing an increased prevalence of anxiety, eating disorders, disordered eating, looking for ways to help control body, self, to find security in a world that is uncertain, in times that are uncertain. I believe these things deep in our heart, this core insecurity, is a large part of why we are seeing an increased prevalence of problems, not just in the eating disorder space. And I think this is happening, and I'm just going to draw this, which is why I've got the whiteboard here. I was speaking at the the Professional Counsellors Association in Western Sydney on the weekend with the professional counsellors of that region. And, you know, we were talking about the prevalence of this and other issues, and I was just making a hypothesis that one of the reasons I think these things are increasing, because, you know, a person doesn't sit in isolation, do we? Obviously, we don't sit in a vacuum. Our heart that needs to know value, acceptance, a sense of belonging, a sense of safety. We all need those things. They are part of being a human being. And our experience of that is both affected by the broad, you know, what's going on at a global level in the bigger picture, but also what's going on closer to home. So, you know, I think what's going on for particularly, I think, for our young people, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we have a lot going on around the world that is impacting the people who are modelling and in relationship with young people, whether it's financial stress, geopolitical stress. People's lives are impacted by the bigger picture, and that in turn has repercussions down to the relationships that people are in. Now, as mature adults, we can make, you know, we've got a lot more under our feet. We've had a lot more experience, and hopefully we have developed some resilience and some resource. And some people are going to have better connections with family, community, friends, and that is such an important bulwark against the stresses of the bigger picture. But I think what, you know, another component that is going on now is that in this era where there is a lot going on in the bigger picture, we're also seeing, you know, more pressure, not just on the big picture, but on families and communities. Time poor, financially stretched. I think the proliferation of hypersexualized, pornographic culture, I think that is a real problem. Apart from the terror and the fear aspects and the instability in that regard, I think for our young people, the culture of porn, you know, what that does to an individual's sense of worth and value and safety. Because at the end scale of that, there is some violence. There is people being objectified, which means they are being acted upon. They are not powerful. They are subject to others acting upon them. And I won't go into it right here, but I can tell you, I've listened to Gail Dines, a wonderful social professor from, I think, Canada. Oh, I don't want to get that wrong. But also Melinda Tankard-Rice, some people on the Australian stage as well, that have done a lot of research in the pornification of our culture and what that is doing to young lives. I mean, I know just firsthand that I have a 16-year-old niece, and, you know, the young boys groomed by a pornified culture are wanting that kind of a relationship with young girls. It's just really tough, because where is your, you know, your body is the home in which you live. And it is sacred. It is not an object to be used or abused or exploited. So I'm saying quite a bit in this video, which will also be stripped for audio podcast. But I guess what I am saying is we have the person, and we have the personal, and we have the bigger picture. And I would just like to encourage you that you do have great worth and value, and you can find security, a deep security within yourself, and deeper down into the fact that I believe and will teach that you are created with worth and value. And when you have those roots going deep down into your system, you can withstand some of the shaking and the instability around your world much better than if you don't. People are so important. Connections. I would just really encourage you today to think about the connections in your world, and think about those ones that are nurturing and helpful, that make you feel accepted, that who you are as a whole person is worthwhile, that what you think, that how you feel, that what you believe, that the qualities that you bring to a relationship are so much bigger than you as a physical body. Yes, you have this amazing body, and our bodies, I love our bodies. I'm a great believer in looking after our bodies and making the most of this amazing vehicle in which we do life, this body that we call home. And that's because I've travelled through disability and I've worked with people who have been disabled as a physiotherapist. So look, I love the body. I want to nurture the body. I want to help you nurture your body. But in this climate that is complex, and there's a lot going on that is shifting around us and can make us feel insecure deep in our root system if we don't have good connections, I want to really encourage you to shore up your connections with the people who are important to you, the people who value you for all that you are, the whole person. To maybe limit yourself to the media that you expose yourself to. I'm not saying to bury your head in the sand. I'm not a believer of that at all. But I do think if we expose ourselves, we just need to balance that, don't we? And remember, look outside. Take a look outside. Today, where I am, there's blue sky. There's sun on trees outside. If I go down the street, I might find a bird, or, look at what is good in your relationships, in your world. Don't get overwhelmed with, the negative, the fear-driven, the anxiety-provoking. Take time. Make sure you take time to nurture connections that are important to you. Take time to nurture yourself. Take time to enjoy your environment. Take time to be grateful for those things that you can be grateful for. I was just driving down the road the other day, and I was just so grateful just for the fact that I could see, that I had eyes and I could see these colours and these clouds and this sun moving through the clouds. And I know that sounds so basic, doesn't it? But it's not if you haven't had sight or your sight's been compromised. If you can hear, we may take that for granted, but gee whiz, the ability to hear a child or a loved one or a bird, or even a plane in the sky, so many things, to feel your feet on the ground, to feel the sun on your skin, to feel a breeze on your face. I would really encourage you to take a moment to be grateful for the things that you can be, and allow yourself to sink the roots of your security, worth and value into a deeper space than is, caused to shake in the world around you. For me, there is security within myself, and it goes deeper down into my foundations, which are, based on my spiritual understanding of how we're created, and that is that we're chosen and we're created with worth and value. And I experience that not just as a mental construct, but as a reality in relationship with the God that I know created me. That's where I come from. That is an incredibly sure foundation for me in uncertain times. It's not an either or, it's an and. It's a foundation, and it really helps. I'm going to actually release, I've put together a program, the 4x4 Freedom Express, and it is a brilliant program to help anyone who wants to get free, to get off the eating disorder treadmill and travel into Freedom Land. I'm just about to launch that. The reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to pre-release a couple of episodes out of that, because they speak to this area that I think is just a universal, I think the whole program really could be applied to anyone struggling with the stresses of life. Eating disorders are just one way of doing that. But more specifically, there's one of the keys, one of the action steps under the fourth key is to anchor. And that is about anchoring our worth and value in truth, and anchoring our emotions and anchoring different aspects of self-experience so that we are secure. And I may, I'm thinking that I might release that for the public consumption, because whether you agree with me or not, I think it's a really helpful dialogue to have, and maybe just some helpful ideas to help you think about the roots and foundations of your security, of your worth and your value when life shakes, when a lot's going on, maybe in your personal space or the bigger world picture. how do you shore up your sense of worth and value and your safety in a world that is really got, lots going on, and we can't control it. We can do what we can do, and we have to manage the rest. So just coming to you today with that thought. Love to hear from you, love your feedback, love your questions, and you can find me, Michelle, at michellesparks.com. You can Twitter me, MP_Sparks. I think in my earlier podcasts and possibly my YouTube videos, I was using a different Twitter address, so hopefully you can find me, and even a different email. I think I was Michelle at Illuminating Anorexia. So hopefully you can find me, because I'd love to hear from you. I'd love your feedback, your questions, and more than anything, I just wish you a great day, and from my heart to yours, travel well.